Session 1.2 is entitled Formulas and Percent. All right, so in this session, we have a few objectives that we want to cover. My first objective is solving for a specific variable. Suppose I gave you the formula I is equal to PRT, and I asked you to solve for the variable T. In other words, I need to isolate the variable T. I want to get T by itself. What's on the same side with T? Well, we have P and R. They are being multiplied by T. So we're going to do the additive inverse to get rid of those. So we need to divide both sides by P and R. So once we divide by P and R, we have T left on the right side, and that's just equal to I divided by PR. So we're just doing the additive inverse to isolate our variable. Let's look at P is equal to 2L plus 2W. And let's solve for L. So I want to isolate my L. On the same side with the 2L, we have 2W. So subtracting 2W from both sides, we get P minus 2W is equal to 2L. All right, but now I have 2L, and I only want L by itself. So I need to divide both sides by 2. So P minus 2W over 2 is equal to L. Suppose I gave you this. X is equal to 1/2 of A plus B plus C. Let's solve for B. So I need to isolate B. But notice that I have a fraction in parentheses here. So that's going to be the very first step. If I see any fractions or parentheses, I want to clear those first. So let's get rid of that fraction by multiplying by the denominator. So in my denominator, I have 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So I have 2s is equal to 2 times 1/2 times A plus B plus C. And so 2s is equal to, notice half of 2 is just 1, so those divide out. And this is just one group of A plus B plus C, which is just A plus B plus C. All right, so let's isolate the B. In other words, so I need to move the A and the C. They've been added to B, so I'm going to subtract them on both sides. 2s minus A minus C is equal to B. And there we go. All right, so my next type of problem is finding the average rate. All right, so on average, my problem says on average, it took 3.5 hours each day to drive a distance of 15 miles to work. Find the average rate. So on average, it takes 3/4 of an hour to drive 15 miles to work. What is the average speed? So we have a formula for this. And so my formula is distance is equal to my rate times time. So D is equal to RT. And so we're just going to plug in what we know. We know my time is 3/4 of an hour. And we know we're driving 15 miles. So let's figure out our speed. In this case, our speed is our rate. So I know everything except R. So my distance is 15 miles. We're driving 15 miles. I don't know my R, but I know my time is 3/4 of an hour. And so basically, I need to multiply by the reciprocal of 3/4 to find my rate. And so I'm going to multiply both sides by 4/3. That would get rid of my fraction 3/4. So multiplying both sides by 4/3, so these divide out. So R is now equal to 15 times 4 divided by 3. Let's divide 15 divided by 3. That's 5. Then 5 times 4 is 20. So I get 20. My rate is 20. And so this must be 20 miles per hour. So I'm driving at a speed of 20 miles per hour. Next we have is solving percent problems. All right, so to find our percent, what we do is part. All right, so percent problems. To find our percentage, we'll do part over whole, and that'll give some decimal. All right, and we have to multiply that decimal by 100 to get our percent. So this is how we're going to find our percent. Okay. For example, let's say we had a class of 50 students. So in a class of 50 students, there are 32 males. What is the percentage of males? So we'll do part over whole. So I have 32. That's my part. There are 32 males. And my whole class size is 50. All right. And that's going to give me some decimal. And we're going to multiply that by 100. And so this is going to give me 0.64. And if I multiply that by 100, we get 64%. All right, let's find percent increase or decrease. All right, so to find percent increase or decrease, what we need to do is we need to find our change and put that over our original amount. So, for example, it says in an electronics store, a laptop is marked up from their cost of $1,200 to a selling price of $1464. What was the percent markup? So this is a percent increase. So a laptop is marked up from a cost of $1,200 to a selling price of $1,464. What was the markup, or what was the percent increase? Okay, so we need to figure out our part of a whole. So to do that, we need to find our difference. So my percent increase is going to be equal to the amount of the increase divided by the original amount. Okay. And so let's figure that out. So X, we don't know our percent increase yet. This is going to be the amount of the increase. So basically, I need to find the difference of those two values. So we sold it for $1,464 minus the original cost was $1,200 and divided by the original cost of $1,200. So my increase is going to be, subtract those two values, 264 over 1,200. And so this gives me a rate of 0.22. So to get my percent, I need to multiply that value by 100. And so this is 22%. There we go. Just another quick example It says the enrollment of a community college declined. So if enrollment of a college declines from 12,750 students to 11,350 students in one year. Let's find our percent decrease. Okay, so our decrease is going to be our difference in our values divided by the original amount. So my decrease, x is equal to, let's figure out what's the difference between those two values. So we'll say 12,750 minus 11,350. That will give us our difference between the students in those 2 years. And our original number of students was, the first year it was 12,750. All right, subtracting that numerator, we get 1,400 over 12,750. And that gives us approximately 0.11. And so this must be 11% if we multiply that rate by 100. So this is how you find your percent increase and your percent decrease.